So in this lesson, we're going to talk all about gear, hunting gear. Which hunting gear do you need in the different situations when you need different loadouts? Because the reality is there is so much hunting gear on the market, so many knickknacks and accessories, and sometimes you can feel a little bit overwhelmed, especially if you're a new hunter. So we're going to talk about the essential gear that you need, as well as what you need for a quick hunting trip, what you need for like a day-long hunting trip, like a week-long hunting trip, and also cover a little bit on the different climates that you might be hunting in. Just a quick note, we will be talking about a number of products in this lesson. If you are interested in learning more about a specific product or a specific brand, as well as our recommendations on what gear you should be selecting, make sure you check out the featured products tab in this lesson. Also, we have produced a fantastic resource that's like a gear checklist that you can print out and you can take on all of your hunts so you can manage your gear and keep track of what you need to bring. If you want to access that resource, which I highly recommend that you do, check out the resources tab in this lesson. Otherwise, let's get started. So before we talk about the bare essential gear that you need to take on every hunt, I first want to make a note of if you're hunting in New South Wales on public land, there are some things that you'll have to have as essential items that other states won't. For instance, you do need to have a radio and maps. That's essential when you're hunting on public land in New South Wales. It's mandatory as dictated by the DPI. So make sure you have a map and a radio setup. For instance, I've got here a Rhino. This is a fantastic product because it has GPS maps as well as a radio, so you can use that. Also, you are required to wear blaze. So make sure you have something like a beanie or a hat, or you have clothing that has some blaze element. Blaze is this bright color. That's important so that other hunters can see you when you're in a public land hunting context. It's also a good idea to wear this when you're in public land situations outside of New South Wales, like Victoria or Tasmania. In fact, if you speak to most hunting professionals within Australia, like my friend Pete from Hunt Right, he would tell you that you should always be wearing blaze or some level of high vis, whether you're hunting on public land or private land. We're talking about life and death here. It's not something you really want to mess around with, so make sure that you're visible. So it is a good idea, but it's not mandatory in those states. But if you're hunting in New South Wales, you have to have blaze. Also, you'll need to have the written information that allows you to hunt in that specific area. Again, New South Wales has a booking platform that you use to book the areas that you're hunting. You need to have that printed out. And for those of you who are brand new to hunting, you might be concerned that blaze is a really bright color and that the animals will see you. Well, deer are colorblind, so they're not actually going to be able to pick up on blaze. So this will look like any other item of clothing to a deer. So don't worry about that. What it's really designed to do is help you be seen by hunters, by humans who can really easily pick up this color out in the bush because it does stand out. And again, before we get into the basic gear that you need for a hunt, I will talk a little bit about hunting clothing because it is somewhat of a contentious issue around some hunters, whether you go camo, whether you don't need to go camo. Look, the most important thing when it comes to hunting clothing is making sure that it's built for performance. Again, you don't want to be wearing loud, scratchy clothing. My friend Pete often talks about this from Ball Adventures. Make sure that your clothing is silent. That's the most important thing, that it's breathable, that it's not going to make a sound as your legs rub together or your arms rub against your sides. Deer will pick up on that sound because, again, it's an unnatural sound in the bush. So whatever hunting clothing you're using, make sure it doesn't make any noise at all. It's for the same reason that my other friend Pete from Hunt Right, again, there's a lot of Petes in the hunting community, that will recommend using soft shell hunting clothing. Essentially, this is a type of fabric. It's like a hunting apparel technology that allows you to be quiet in the bush. So soft shell is really, really important. As to whether you go camo or non-camo, look, at the end of the day, the best hunting gear that's made is made in a camo design. So if you want the best stuff, it's probably already going to be in camo. Whether camo is important because deer are colorblind, that's really up for debate. What it's really designed to do is to break up your profile in the bush. If you have a single solid color, doesn't matter whether that's a bright orange color or a dark black, it's still a solid color, and solid colors in the bush are rare. So what you're trying to do is break up your profile with ideas like sticks and berries or different textures and different tones, and that will really kind of help you blend into the environment. So again, whatever hunting apparel you choose, go with something that's high in performance, that's designed to be breathable, that's not too heavy, that's not too light, something that wears really well, something that's tough. If you're hunting in Victoria or places where there are blackberries, that will shred your clothing quicker than you can imagine. So making sure that it's a durable fabric is really, really important as well. And again, buy the best. The best tends to be camo, so buy that. If you want to learn more about the hunting apparel products that I recommend, check out the featured products tab in this lesson. Okay, so what if you're going out for a quick hunt? Like we're talking, a couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, not the full day, just a quick hunt. Maybe you're taking advantage of the morning in the golden hours or the evening. What do you need? Well, essentially you need a few things. Obviously, you need a firearm, you need a rifle, and you need a single magazine's worth of ammo. You don't need to bring a whole box of ammunition. That's overkill, and you certainly don't want to be lugging it around, especially if that ammo is loose and bouncing around in your pack. It's going to make noise, so you want to avoid that. And for me, an absolute no-brainer is hunting boots, making sure that you have a good, solid pair of hunting boots. I don't care if you're going out for 10 minutes or you're going out for 10 days. Treat your boots like they're kings because they will look after you. They will keep you safe during the bush. They'll help you perform. They'll keep your feet happy, which keeps your hunters happy. Make sure you have great boots. And again, spend the money, get a better, more expensive pair of boots because there is a big difference in terms of quality. My friend Pete from Ball Adventures will tell you to wear your boots, once you buy them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just out and about, in the house, outside, doing chores so that you can break them in so that when you do go take them out on a hunt, they are nice and comfortable. But a good pair of boots that are well supported for your feet, that are breathable, that can handle the water, that can handle all sorts of harsh conditions are an absolute must. I can't stress that enough. You'll also probably need a backpack, and that's to carry your gear in. But also, if you do manage to get an animal, a backpack will allow you to quarter that animal out, store it, get it back where you need it to. Again, you don't need a crazy big backpack if you're only going out for a few hours. Even if you're going on a day trip, a small backpack like this is fantastic. It'll get you out of trouble. So here's a quick tip with backpacks as well. My friend Alex, who's an absolute legend, will talk about his zipper gripper, which essentially is a bit of paracord that sits on the end of your zipper. And it can be zippers all over your backpack. This backpack already has them on there. If your backpack doesn't have a little bit of paracord, it's a great, quick, easy way to, again, move your zippers around. I know it seems like a small thing, but when you're up high in the mountains and your fingers are freezing and you're struggling to find that little zipper, especially if they're little zippers, having something like a bit of paracord can allow you to quickly open up your backpack. It's a bit of a get out of jail free card. If you are in an emergency, you've got a bit of paracord that you can then take off and use to tie things up. It's a great idea. Another item that's absolutely essential is having a knife, having a sharp knife. My friend Pete will remind you that you should have a sharp knife and some sort of sharpening implement. Don't just have one. I mean, certainly don't just bring the sharpening implement. Make sure you have the knife as well. But having both is really, really important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, you can head out for the hunt and your knife may not be sharp to start off with. And if you find yourself harvesting an animal with a blunt knife, you'll quickly learn that to sharpen your knife beforehand. But also, again, sometimes when you're using your knife and you're harvesting an animal, the knife can get dull and just needs a quick sharpen up. So make sure you have both a sharpening implement and a knife. Now, if you're after more information about knives in Australia, there are good knives, there are bad knives, there's everything in between. There's certainly Australian knives that I would recommend. If you want to learn more about them, featured product tab in this lesson, that's where you can check it out. Now, when it comes to protecting yourself, one of the most important things is ear protection. And this is where I see a lot of hunters falling short. And they basically just say, you know what, it's too much to organize. I can't be bothered plugging in the ears. I want to be able to hear everything. Or they get too excited in the moment and they forget about ear protection. Honestly, it's one of the most important things. If you want to hunt for the long term, if you want to hunt your entire life, make sure you get and use ear protection. And ear protection that's designed specifically for hunting and shooting. Because that frequency of the gun going off and its volume, or whatever decibel that is, it needs to be set for that. Otherwise, you're just kind of reducing the damage as opposed to preventing the damage. Something like this is fantastic that can sit around your neck, that can quickly go into your ears in a few seconds. Take it out. That's great. You can have it around your neck and not have to worry about it, not have to think about where's my ear protection. Or having something like this that you can squeeze into your ears. Even better, if you can get a custom molded solution that can sit in your ears, and a number of places actually produce these, they are fantastic. And they often have the ability to hear passively, so they have like pass through, so you can hear the outside world, you can hear the animals, but it's only going to cut off that high frequency sound of a gunshot going off. So that means you can have them in for the entire hunt if you want to. So if you have something like that, that's a great idea. Now, it kind of goes without saying, but you'd be surprised how many hunters head out without water. I don't care what time of the year you're hunting in, whether it's the height of summer or the middle of winter, Water bottle, I think, is an essential item that you should take it out, because if you go out there and you stumble, you twist your ankle, you fall off some rocks, you get bitten by a snake, who knows what's going to happen. It's important that you have enough water to get you out of trouble. If you talk to my friend Alex about the importance of water bottles, he'll tell you a story that will make your toes curl in terms of how important they are. Again, he was out with a hunter up on a mountain. The guy didn't have proper hydration and it went really pear-shaped. They end up getting stuck on the mountain overnight. The guy had to get airlifted out, all because didn't have a water bottle that was sufficient. Again, water bottles are incredibly important. Make sure you stay hydrated when you're hunting. Something else that you should consider is a hunting hat. Again, having something in camo is fantastic. Again, keeps the sun off your head, protects you. You should also be wearing sun cream, mind you, as well. Also, if you have a hat that's camo, but also has a blaze pattern, again, that helps you in that category so you don't have to have other blaze on you. And often hunters will opt to have a hat that's blaze as opposed to a whole shirt that's blaze, because if they don't like blaze but they have to wear it, at least a hat is something that's high elevation and is, your head's constantly moving. Other hunters can see it, and you're therefore protected. Again, something that not every single hunter uses, but I personally recommend, is having a bino harness, because obviously a pair of binoculars when you're out there hunting, in my opinion, is essential. Again, I don't care if you're going out for 10 minutes or 2 hours or 3 hours or 2 days, I always have my binos with me. And I prefer to use a pair of binos that has an inbuilt rangefinder. Now, I know that these are a little bit more pricey, a little bit more expensive. Trust me, they are worth it. They are absolutely worth it. It will help teach you and educate you on the distance between you and animals, help you close that gap effectively. It's really, really important. And the last thing you want to be doing is having a pair of binoculars, you're out there, you're glassing, and then you have to pull out a range and you're ranging and you're back to your binos and then you're up with your scope. By the time that you've got all that done, the animal's probably gone. So make sure that you have a pair of binos, at least ideally a pair of binos that has a rangefinder in it. Now, a bino harness is, again, your best friend, because it can sit flat on your chest. It's out of the way. It's managing your binos, and you can quickly get to it whenever you need to. Glass up, back in there, close it. Usually they have like a magnet as well, so it can lock in at the top, so you're not worrying about opening and closing zips, which make a lot of noise, obviously. There's a whole bunch of different awesome products out there in terms of bino harnesses. Modular systems like this that you can tack onto, they're also a great idea, because not every bino harness is fit for every context, as surprising as that sounds. Sometimes you want a small one, sometimes you want a big one. This is a fantastic one. Again, if you want to learn about these products, featured product section of this lesson. Plus, you can also put patches on there. How cool is that? There you go, shout out for the Australian Hunters Club. Now, on my bino harness, I try and keep it pretty slim, the bare minimum. I will sometimes have a knife in the bottom just to get me out of trouble. But this little thing here, again, I think that this is essential. This is a windicator. This is a little bottle and it's got talcum powder in it. And essentially what it's designed to do is tell you the direction of the wind. Again, tiny little thing, incredibly important. Having it somewhere close to hand where you can use it constantly every 10, 20 minutes is awesome. You don't want to have to, again, take off your backpack, look through it, find your windicator, get it out, use it, put your backpack down, put it back in again. It's all about efficiency. We're creating efficiency here. So having a system that's easy, quick, and efficient. So they're the essential things. If you're going out hunting, that's really all you need. Everything else is a nice to have, and that's for a nice, quick, easy hunt. Something else that you should definitely bring, even if you're going out for just a few hours, is an esky. Now, you don't need to bring it out with you when you're actually going and hunting, but it should be in your car, ready to go, ready to store the animal that you hopefully do harvest. So make sure you have an esky. Again, it doesn't have to have ice in it. You can just have an esky to start off with, put your animal in there, and then go to the nearest service station and buy your ice afterwards. Okay, so let's say you're not doing a quick couple-hour hunt. You're moving now more into a day hunt. Well, what are the essential items for a day hunt? Well, essentially, it's everything that we've mentioned thus far with a few extra inclusions. One of those things would be a head torch. If you're going out for a day hunt, what you're probably doing is going out early in the morning before the sun rises and then finishing up late in the evening when the sun sets. And in that situation, it's really important that you have a head torch. Now, even if you're going out as the sun comes up, let's say that you shoot an animal right as the sun's going down and then you have to go locate it and track it. It's essential that you have a head torch. So make sure you have a head torch. Again, there's varying sizes, ones that have just regular white light as well as ones that have orange light, different size batteries. There's a whole bunch of different head torches that you can just go crazy on selecting and choosing. But making sure you have a head torch for your day hunts is really, really important. Given you've moved from hunting for just a few hours, chucking some stuff in the car more to a day hunt as well, that's when I would start to include things like a first aid kit. Now, some people would include this just for any single hunt they go on, and I usually have some stuff that I just throw in the backpack for just a quick hunt. But seriously, once you're going out for a day, the probability that you could get hurt kind of goes up fairly steeply. So I'd make sure that you have a first aid kit. Another great tip from my friend Bill from Happy Hunting Adventures is always making sure your first aid kit is up to date. Now, it's one thing to have a first aid kit in your backpack, and another thing to have a basically empty shell with nothing inside of it. All the things that are inside of it are out of date. So make sure you're constantly checking your first aid kit to make sure you have all the bandages, you have all the band-aids, you have all the stuff that you need, snake bite kit, all that kind of stuff, and then it's up to date so that you can have a hunt and not have to worry and be carefree and actually get to enjoy yourself. And if something does happen, heaven forbid, that you're fine. And the other thing that you want to include for a day hunt is managing your basic toiletry needs, because obviously if you're hunting for a full day, at some point during that day, you're probably going to want to go to the toilet. And you really have a few different options, making sure that you have a toilet roll. My mate Brad would tell you to make sure you bring a toilet roll because it's better than having to rip off your pocket off your shirt and using that. So he would say toilet roll. Also, wet wipes are great. Getting biodegradable wet wipes are obviously ideal as well. If you can't get biodegradable ones, don't just leave your wet wipes out in the bush. Have like a little Ziploc bag. I know it's not great to think about, but to take a used wet wipe and put it in a Ziploc bag and put it back in your backpack. But again, we need to look after our wild places and nature, and just putting used wet wipes that aren't going to degrade into that environment is not good. And so wet wipes or toilet paper, if you're going out for a day hunt, it's an absolute must. Trust me, you don't want to be out in the bush having to go to the toilet and not have that. So we've gone from a quick hunt to a day hunt, and now let's talk about a week hunt. Obviously, everything that we've mentioned in the previous 2 hunts is what you need to bring, plus some other things. So I would move from having just a water bottle up to something like having a big water container. Again, that's really important. Plus all your standard camping stuff, so like your tent, your sleeping bags, your lights, all that kind of stuff, that kind of goes without saying. But a big water bottle is really, really important. And obviously included in that camp stuff is having some food. If you're after great suggestions on camping food, pre-made stuff that just requires to be heated up, I've got some great recommendations in the featured product section, so make sure you check that out. It's at this point as well with a week hunt that I would then actually bring additional ammunition. I'd probably bring a box of ammunition because, again, you might get more than one animal. You may bump your rifle and may need to re-zero it, so it's important that you have more than just a magazine of ammo, so I'd bring that. And then it's also important that you're storing your ammunition and your rifle legally. So it's at this point that I would bring in a separate lockable container for your ammunition so that you have that. And also I would bring something like this, a lockable rifle case. Because again, if you've got other people at your campsite or you're going to be leaving stuff around, it's important that you can secure it and keep it safe. So I would have a lockable rifle container. I'd also make sure that I keep that locked in my car as well. So if you're moving from a day hunt to a week hunt, there's some of the extra things that you really need to be considering and thinking about. So what about if you're hunting in wet weather? Well, there's a few extra accessories that you should really be thinking about in that situation. First and foremost, gaiters. Gaiters are your best friend. Gaiters are essentially, leg gaiters specifically, go around your legs, over your boots. They help protect you from water and moisture getting into your boots, as well as tears from sticks and sharp objects. It's definitely worth getting a pair of gaiters. You can also get some gaiters that are snake proof, so essentially prevent you getting snake bites. They're definitely worth checking out if you're interested. Continuing along that thread with the wet weather gear, obviously having a pair of gloves. If you're hunting up in the high country during the winter, this is a must. Having a nice beanie that you can put over as well, that really helps out. Again, you're gonna have a blaze beanie if that's your thing. That's awesome. Also, having a sleeve that can go over your rifle and over your optics is another great option. Again, if it's rainy, if it's wet, if it's cold, that will protect your rifle. There's nothing worse than hunting for hours in the rain, seeing your animal, lifting up your scope, and it just being covered in water and you're not being able to see and having to quickly clean it. So there's some great things if you require those in the winter. Also in the winter, you should be thinking about having a well-insulated jacket, a jacket that's nice and thick and heavy. It's going to keep you warm, especially if you're just sitting there glassing for hours at a time. You don't want to get cold and start fidgeting. it will kind of put you off. So to keep you sharp and keep you healthy and keep you happy, well, insulated jacket is really important. And also, again, if you're out there in the rain, having a soft shell jacket that's going to prevent you from getting wet is also really important as well. And it's important that it's not a really thick and big and heavy jacket that's waterproof. They are great, and especially for around camp. When you're hunting, you're gonna get hot, especially if you're moving around. So make sure you've got something lightweight like this. Goes a long way to keeping you happy out there when you're in the bush and it's wet and cold. So now let's talk about a bunch of optional stuff. This is, in my opinion, all the extra optional knickknacks that you can get. So it's not essential. It's just if you want to augment your loadout and kind of improve it. Again, so much of this is going to come down to whether you think you need it. You'll use it in the context and you'll figure out, maybe I didn't actually need that, or 100% I needed that, make sure I bring it again. So it's about learning, it's about trying things out. So you've got things like collars. Collars are great, especially if you're hunting sambar, they respond really well to a collar. Or if you're hunting predators like foxes, they respond really well to obviously a fox whistle. This is a croaking tube that's designed to attract fellow bucks during the croak. Again, there's so many different collars you can get, but you'll find the collars that work for you. They're super light, easy, chuck them in your backpack. They're fantastic. Also, after a few years of hunting, you might really start enjoying and getting into trail cameras. These things are fantastic. If you really want to scope out an area, which we talk about in other lessons, trail cams are great. And putting a few in your backpack so that when you're out there and hunting, especially in a new location, and sticking them up is a great way to learn more about that environment. Something like AeroGuard, it kind of goes without saying, but in the wetter months, once the mosquitoes are out, definitely check that out. And so this is something that I've only just recently started using. This is from Nebo. This is the IllumiTrace torch. It's a blood tracking torch. And what it's designed to do is help you find animals that you've shot on last light or maybe early in the morning and they've run away and they've run into the bush and you've lost the blood trail or you're following the blood trail. This is a fantastic torch that you can use to essentially find them. It's fantastic. I definitely recommend this. Again, I'll put a link to this in the featured product section of this lesson. It's a pretty cool bit of kit that can really help complement your existing head torch when you're tracking an animal. It really helps that blood pop when you're looking at it. Next up is a shooting stick. I mean, I love shooting sticks. They're not essential, but they are a fantastic way to improve your accuracy. They can also serve as walking poles when you're out there hunting in steeper terrain and steeper country. Having something like this to brace your rifle on is a great get out of jail free card. Again, we talk more about the benefits of a shooting stick and having a stable rest in the techniques module. Definitely worth checking out. There's also different types of shooting sticks. This is a monopod, so it's one singular beam. You can get them that have two bipods essentially. You can get tripods. You can get all sorts of weird configurations. A shooting stick's great. A lot of hunters now are moving into using thermals. Victoria has just changed its rules on public land hunting and the use of thermals, so you can use these during the day. So again, investing in a thermal, it's quite a pricey item, whether it's a handheld thermal or a thermal that's a mounted scope. Again, can't use that on public land, but you can use it on private land. Again, that's a great tool that can help you identify animals when you're out there hunting. If you're going to be hunting for any length of time, it's also really important that you have game bags. Game bags are essentially the bag that you then put the carcass in, whether that's quartered or whether you've cut steaks or whatever. These are awesome canvas, thick game bags. Again, you can hang these up at camp as well. You want to avoid just putting the meat straight into your backpack. Again, backpacks collect all sorts of dirt and grime and lint and stuff. So having a game bag or having a few game bags is essential. Again, depending on the size of the animal, you might need 1, 2, maybe even 3 game bags. Following along that idea of harvesting animals and butchering and field dressing, I definitely recommend, if you're going to be out for any length of time, to invest in a gambrel and some rope or a block and tackle or an infinity chain, basically a way to hoist your animal up off the ground when you can do skinning. The gambrel essentially, you cut between the Achilles of the animal's legs and then you slot them on here and then you can lift the animal up. Again, doesn't weigh much, can go in your backpack or even sit in your car and will help you when you're field dressing and harvesting an animal. Another item of camouflage that more and more hunters are starting to use in Australia is a neck gaiter. Essentially, it's a face wrap that goes around and covers your mouth, covers your ears. Essentially, what you're trying to do is break up your profile. The human face is easily recognizable by an animal in the bush, so you want to prevent that from obviously happening. So wearing a neck gaiter or a face mask is a great way to do that. They're also super cheap and easy to get. If you are planning to go out on a longer trip, it is also worth investing in some zero targets because you never know when your rifle gets knocked out or your scope gets knocked out, and it's really difficult then to get it back in zeroed when you're out there in the bush. So having some targets that you can take out. You can see here this target has been used quite extensively. This is just one of the ones I have. Again, having a steel frame target and then having replacement targets as well as dots that you can use to map where you've shot is a great way that you can help make sure that your rifle is shooting straight. Again, if you're going out for more than a couple of days, if you're going out for a week, it's definitely worth having something like this in your car. And then specifically, if you're hunting in the high country and you're interested in long distance shooting, or you're sitting on faces glassing other sides, it's worth investing in a spotting scope and a tripod. Again, this is not for every single hunter. It's not for every single context. It is a large item, a heavy item. It's gonna fill up your backpack. You're gonna probably want a bigger backpack, but it's definitely worth something doing if you're planning on sitting there on the side of a mountain glassing all day. Doing that with binos can be really tiring. It's gonna wear you out. You're gonna get bored. So having something that you can mount on a tripod and look through and be comfortable is a bit of a no-brainer. But again, it depends on the context of your hunting and whether this is going to fit in your loadout. Both my mates Bill and Pete would also recommend that you take out a lighter with you. And even if you're a non-smoker, go buy a lighter. It can be used for a number of different things. I mean, it's a safety tool. If get out of jail free card, if you do get stuck in the bush and you do need to start a fire to keep warm during the night, obviously it's great for that. You can also use it to flick it on and check the direction of the wind if you don't have a wind indicator. Obviously, it's not a great tool for that. You don't want to be using it all the time and using all that fuel, but again, you can use that if you want. And so this is not specifically referred to the gear that you take out there, but more about something that you can do to your rifle when you're out there in the bush. A lot of hunters do this. My mate Alex does this. It's a way of preventing dirt and debris getting into your rifle, and essentially it's taping up the barrel of your rifle and making sure it's covered. Now, usually you'd think that you don't want to obstruct your barrel because when you shoot, you don't want the barrel then exploding, but a bit of tape over the top of the barrel, especially in a bright color, can act as a helpful indicator to let you know where you're pointing and let other people know where you're pointing, but also prevent things from getting into your rifle when you drop it. And the bullet will go straight through the tape and it won't really alter the trajectory or the power of the bullet. It's definitely worth doing to protect dirt from getting into your barrel, but also letting other hunters know where you are. And here's another tip from my friend Alex. You can see here, we have a lot of gear. There's a lot of bits and bobs, there's a lot of knickknacks, and you can quickly and easily lose track of where objects are and lose them. So make sure that you get in the habit of regularly packing away your things in a certain order. Or if you have a backpack that has multiple components in it, multiple little sleeves and areas, put the same things in those areas each time that you hunt, so that when you do need to access a bit of gear, you always know where it is. Because I guarantee you, with all of these knickknacks and all this stuff, you're gonna quickly forget where things are, and you don't wanna be that situation when you're out there hunting. So manage your gear appropriately, pack it consistently, and you'll always know where it is. Okay, so that's a lot of information. What is the major take home from this lesson? First and foremost, there are different styles of hunting, and different styles of hunting require different levels of equipment. Also, it's different loadouts, whether you're going out for a quick hunt, for a day hunt, for a week hunt, whether you're hunting in the summer, you're hunting in the winter. Basically, what it's going to come down to is you testing and trialing and experimenting with your equipment. And I encourage you, start with the essentials, go out there hunting. You'll quickly find what you're missing, add that to your loadout, test it, see if you still need it, and then just keep working from there. Over time, you'll build up your key or your kind of optimized loadout that works for you. It might not include this, it might include more than this, who knows? Just test it out and experiment, and you'll find it out as you go.